Hello, writers. RJ Thesman here with more tips for your writing life. You know, when we're working with a novel, one of the most important things we can do is develop our characters. But sometimes we get so fictionalized that we forget some of the important qualities that should happen in true characters. So as we think more about ourselves as a character, that can help us to develop our fictional characters. For example, dialogue. Do your characters really all sound like you? Or do they sound like real people? Do they have a particular phrase that they like to say or some kind of an idiom? Do they have an accent? Male and female, they talk differently. Women talk in long phrases, men more clipped and incomplete sentences. So pay close attention to how your characters speak. And then description, describing your characters. If you met some of your characters on the street, would you be able to recognize them just through the description that you have written? Sit down and write a description of yourself. That's not as easy as it sounds. And then apply that same kind of practice to your characters. Another important part is reflection, our thought life. You know, particularly females, we think a lot. We analyze things, something that happens, we think about it a long time, all the ins and outs of it. Male characters do the same thing. They think about things sometimes more briefly and more logically. But your characters need to be thinking. That inner life is really important. And then emotion. Particularly for female characters, we have lots of emotions. We feel things deeply. And so your characters need to do the same thing. Your male characters, again, still feel things, but they do it a little bit more logically. And you need to be sure that you're adding emotion, because if you don't, then you just have a plastic kind of or a cardboard type of a character. And then action. When you have developed your character well, the action needs to sync with who that person is. It needs to be concurrent with their thoughts, with their dialogue, with all the things that make them up as descriptors. And so action actually becomes a little bit easier to figure out if you've done a good job in developing your characters. So working on your character sketches and thinking about how to develop them, think about dialogue and description, reflection, emotion, and then action. When we think about ourselves in totality as a person, that helps us to think about our characters in totality and make them more realistic. So work on developing your characters, but most of all, keep writing, because your words matter.